Hi, welcome to Liquidity Alpha, your go-to platform for liquidity tracking for your favorite coin. Hey Justin, how are you doing?
Hey Ankit, how you doing?
Yeah, good. We took a day off yesterday. We thought, why not, right? So we're back here today. I thought it will be good for us to look at some of the coins, the big movers overnight, likes of Bitcoin, Ethereum. We've covered them in the past, so I thought it'd be good for us to quickly look at what happened to the sort of analysis we did last week with those two first, and then we can also look at SUI along with those two.
Perfect. Yeah. It seems like lately cryptocurrencies have definitely been moving up quite a bit. We have Bitcoin here on the screen. We can see that. I think we were looking. We were last week, right? We were checking out this bullish liquidity, if memory serves.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then,
I think on the
yeah,
24th, we were saying it's going to retest 105 Bitcoin, right? 105K. Uh, and then on 23rd, I think we said it's going to retest 108. And here we are sitting at 103 now. So it's sort of broke through both of those retests we were hoping it does, and it did.
yeah, and we can see that this valiant effort for this bullish liquidity here on Sunday, but it looks like the market has other plans and some bearish liquidity started pouring through. The support at what is now at 110 tried to hold it, but since then it looks like the bearish liquidity is kind of just
Right.
reigned supreme. And this is on the 2 hour look, so and the outlook here is still bearish because the liquidity is still bearish, and so the outlook is still down until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
let's
it's a.
see.
So where is the liquidity support level? Oh, there you go. On the 4 hours, we have
There it is.
102 is the support. It's somewhere around 102, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because we didn't even see one on the 2 hour. And here we do see that this bearish liquidity seems to be taking us to this support at 102. Um, and the concern is that if it tests with this bearish liquidity and falls through, then it's going to be a little problematic. But for now, it looks like a journey to 102, 500 ish is in the cards. And then from there, if ideally we want to see that bullish liquidity come back. We want to see these candles start getting painted this neon blue. But if they don't, they stay this this red bearishness, then falling through that support unfortunately starts looking way more likely.
Now, we're not saying this will happen in next 4 hours. What we're saying is
Mhm.
4 hours is the time duration we're looking at, but that could play out in next 1 or 1.5 days or 2 days even, right?
For sure.
That's liquidity is not it's not the magic ball that we have. Not yet, anyways. Perhaps soon we will have one with
I mean,
Liquidity
it's
Alpha.
close, right?
Yeah.
Because I would say, I think I would argue it is a little bit of a magic ball, but I think people underestimate just how far into the future it actually sees. Because when we fell through the support at 108 with this candle, which really started this bullish to bearish transition, we can see it took. This is on the 4 hour view, so it took 2 days and 12 hours to
Right.
test the next support, but that was always the outlook, right? Like as soon as you
Right.
fall through one support, if you have bearish liquidity,
Yeah.
the expectation is that you're going to test the next support down. So, I might push back a little bit and say it's
It
actually that
is.
the crystal ball,
It's.
kind of
It is a
it's
crystal ball.
sneaky with how far out it can actually tell us the events.
Right. Right.
4 hours gets you a 3 day outlook, and so
Yeah.
we can kind of expect the same here. We say in the next 2 days, day or so, we might test the support, and then it'll be a nice. If we bounce, it'll be a few days back to get to the support or to the resistance up here at 110.
Right.
But
So what happens if you look at a daily chart on a 24 hours
yeah,
basis? Where
yeah,
is the
let's see.
support sitting now? Okay.
So it looks like the daily is echoing that 4 hour view of the support around like 101.
Right.
We definitely have this bearish liquidity, so the outlook is that this support is likely going to be tested. And I think it'll particularly be important to monitor it at that level because if we continue to print these bearish prints as we test, what we said with the 4 hour
Right.
and whatnot, the expectation is that we would then move down to the next support, which is kind of currently sitting quite a bit away, around 10% down at like 90,500.
That's a huge
And
down, and it's
right,
It's possible we go retest that, but that might happen in a, I don't know, 10 days time or something, right? It's not, typically it's
Right,
not
right.
straight down. Typically in Bitcoin case it can be.
Fair.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess, yeah, put that in your back pocket, right? Like, be surprised if there's not like a random 10% down day. It might just be testing the support, and then we got to check in on conditions as this bid. If the support does a good job holding things up,
Yeah.
then recovery can be expected. But if not, I think things might
Yeah.
get a little scary. But
Yeah, and rest of the liquidity, what it does, right? Like if all the other players, how they perform during that 10% down, like if there are a lot of parties come in to bid, then we know
yeah,
it creates a good base, which I think is the case. I think we need to retest some of the levels, and for us to go back up to 110, 111. So I do think this is a good healthy move.
yeah, and it's fine to test supports. It gives you that injection of bid. It kind of gets people interested again in like things moving up. So while I think on the short term, it's definitely unfortunate when we start seeing this bearish liquidity and supports being tested. Like you said, it is. The hope is that when we're testing these supports, a lot of bid starts walking in on these supports, and then the recovery happens. And life moves
Right.
on. But for now, yeah, in the more near term, there's definitely an increased risk. Definitely testing 100 and like 101,000,
Okay.
and unfortunately on the horizon, 90,000 is peaking its setup.
It's possible, definitely. Cool. All right. I think we can come back and relook at Bitcoin next week, towards the end of next week, perhaps, to give it enough time to see if we touch those targets or not. But let's move on to Ethereum then next.
Yeah, let's do this. So
Um,
we
just on,
have
just on the dates, I think we did talk about Ethereum, and we said it's gonna touch 2,300. So there was a video we did on the 24th of May, which would have been 6 days ago. We said it's gonna touch 2,300. I mean, it did. Since then, it did go up, and we are sitting at 25-ish hundred now. With
yeah.
what a bit moved down. How's it looking from on a shorter time duration to a longer time duration?
Right. So I think, yeah, like you mentioned, I think there was concern, like things were overall looking bullish, but we had this support identifiable, and it
Yeah.
definitely looks like we tested it. This is back to the 2 hour, and it looks like we had the little bit of this bullish liquidity, tested this resistance at 2,780,
Yeah. Yeah.
and looks like it was rejected, unfortunately. Bearish liquidity came through, and we see here where like last time the support gave it that nice bullish bounce. Here it doesn't look like that was the case. Bearish liquidity reigned supreme, and things have just kind of been dropping since.
Right.
And so on the 2 hour, unfortunately, the outlook is still down, because we don't have a floor
We don't have a
without like a
floor. Yeah.
support. So let's try the 4 hour, see if we can find a level of support.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a little unfortunate though, because it looks like we're moving past that currently. So it looks like on the 4 hour, there's a support level at 2,530. Well, maybe there was a support there. Like I said, this candle looks to be moving past it.
I think
And
it'll flirt with this support for some time. I think it tends to do. The price tends to flirt with the supports and resistance. So we'll probably see
right,
some flirting there. But let's see where. Oh, the next one is 2,100. The support.
yes, how far down is that? I wonder.
$400 on a 24. So 20%.
What, 2%, 20%?
Yeah.
It was just a hefty drop, right? And unfortunately, as you say, that it does have a tendency, to flirt with that support. I always see it as like the price is kind of like clinging onto that support, but
Yeah.
as the flows move to the bid, eventually the grip strength just gives way. And unfortunately, right now it does look like if that happens, that the next support would be about 2,100, as we see here on the 4 hour.
Right. Yeah, that's a big down if that happens.
Right.
What about a daily? If you were to look at 1 day, where is the support sitting at?
Okay, so this one gives us a little bit of
That looks more
bullish
realistic.
hope.
Yeah, that's a bit more
Right.
realistic, I think.
So for now on the daily, it looks like we got this pretty hefty support here at 2,400
Right.
ish, and liquidity is still bullish. So the expectation is that, if, because we saw on the 2-hour things were bearish, on the 4-hour things were bearish. So if that kind of feeds up into the daily, then a test of the 2400
Right.
support pretty likely. And then, yeah, the name of the game is, we really hope that that bullish liquidity on the daily can kind of is sufficient to kind of extend down into those lower time frames and help, move things up. And we hope that would happen right here at the 2400. Or if this bullish liquidity gives way, then, like we said, we have a nice support here at 1860-ish right now. What was it on the 4-hour? Is that about the same it was on the 4?
2000.
Okay, so yeah, so definitely a test of, I think, the support 2400, which isn't too far away.
Yeah.
But if it starts moving below, I would say like if we get to like 2300, then I think it would be reasonable to start preparing for like a bounce off of the support at 1800,
Right.
1861 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, what we can see, like I think what I can see at least is it's gonna flirt around with that 2400, 2400 for a day or 2 or 3 days, right? I think it definitely looks like it's gonna like just stay at this level for a couple of days after such a massive moves we've seen. So I think it might just slow down a bit before deciding the next move down or up.
Agreed. Yeah. And for right now, on this daily view,
yeah,
and again that extends out like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We do see the outlook overall right now is bullish. And I guess on that note, we have this support or this resistance here at 2950, 2960.
Yeah.
So that would be, if bullishness kind of reigns supreme, that would be the next kind of stopgap to check in on things, make sure things are okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think some lethargic price action as we've seen. But those lower time frames are a little concerning for some lower support testing.
Yeah.
So we'll check in.
Yeah, unless Ethereum really breaks out of the bound it's been within the Bitcoin, right? Unless Ethereum starts to move up and Bitcoin starts to stay at the same level or go down, which happens every now and then, though Bitcoin is obviously leads everything. Let's see where it plays out in the next couple of days. But cool, all right.
Right. Yeah, cool. So SUI, right?
SUI is the one we covered last week. So we actually were looking at a price target of, sorry, I'm just reading through SUI. Yes, so 5 days ago we covered it and our target was 317. And man, look at that. We just broke through it. We are sitting at 311.
Oh, yeah. So definitely had that bearish liquidity we were looking at. We can see the support. Remember what I mentioned earlier where, you like to see the support, inject bid and inject bullishness into price action. And we can definitely see that occurring here, but just not enough. And we see that clinging to the support, like you mentioned, that might happen on Ethereum, these nice 2 candles, but things definitely started just turning bearish and it looks like downhill since. And this is on the 2-hour view again. And we just don't really kind of like a common theme here. We don't have another support to locate things. So let's move up to the 4-hour. And still nothing, unfortunately.
Yes, in fact, these players are chewing through some of the liquidity to push the price down. That's what I saw with this wake up on the liquidity side. So I think there's more downside to it.
I think so, yeah. And we see that here again with the support, but it gave us one good candle of bullishness, but just wasn't able to overcome the movement to the bid. And so again, you expect it's just, okay, we're bearish right now. It happens. We're going to move down to the next support. But again, here, even on the 4-hour, we see.
Sorry, SUI, you're not looking good, man. You need to be healthy.
Yeah, yeah, for real. So let's try the 1 day. Hopefully we can find.
Oh, there you go. There's some support.
Okay. Yeah, so we have that cling, but bearishness takes over, and we have now a support at like $2.62 ish, which is a bit away still. Honestly, that's not the closest with these. It gets a little tricky when you start dealing with decimals, but yeah, that's a 17-ish, 16.45% ish decline. So that's has the potential to be pretty hefty. And unfortunately, with the liquidity being bearish, the candles being painted this color, it does, the outlook is a test of the support. So unfortunately, downside, it's not looking too healthy right now.
No. It's sort of looking all of them looking the same way. Ethereum, I think it's maybe a bit more like positive and bullish side, a little bit, even though after this massive downturn. ETH, I
Oh,
think I would
no,
say,
yeah, I think,
yeah,
hmm
yeah,
yeah, because we can see that, zooming out, we caught these supports gave way, bearishness, so we are kind of like in this renewed bullishness. But it's if I were to play devil's advocate, the eternal bear in me, it's a little concerning that so far with this bullish liquidity, it hasn't even been able to test this resistance.
right.
It's a little concerned that it's not, reaching up anymore. And so
Okay.
definitely as it tests this support, it's going to be, we need to, watch that liquidity.
Yeah,
Because if it starts draining, it's going to be a pretty
yeah.
nail, kind of like the nail in the coffin, unfortunately, for now.
Oh man, no. But cool. All right, Justin. Look, let's retouch this next week, and let's go through them and look at how they played out. Today's 31st of May, and let's come back and let's look at it how it played out. But thank you so much for your time, Justin. It's good to see you.
Yeah, man, good hanging out. And yeah, let's come back and see how they do. So till then.
Till then.